Welcome to the Feminine Wave. Today's episode, we'll be focusing on conscious living, real livelihood. So let's talk about self-care and well-being, women's health, our environment, and our family. Today's guest is Deb SaBell. Deb knows the journey of loss, hardships, and devastation to resilience and dedication to a happy life no matter what. She believes that caring for yourself is just as important as caring for your loved ones and empowers caregivers to thrive, not just survive. Through her compassionate guidance, Deb helps caregivers master the process of caregiving from start to finish. Caregivers need care too. She is the founder of Giving Care to Caregivers. The mission is to provide the tools, guidance, and community caregivers need to feel supported, capable, and seen. Whether you're an individual caring for a loved one or a leader supporting caregiving employees, she's here to navigate this journey with grace and strength. Now, I would love to introduce to you to a very special woman, Deb SaBell.
Hi, Tara.
Wow. So excited to have you with us today.
I know it's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a while, and we've got some similar journey in our past, and that's what I think has really kind of cemented, our connection, which is just so amazing. And so, and I know you've got so much to share with everyone, and I would love to just have you just touch a little bit on how you got on this part of what brought you to this journey here that you're on right now.
Well, my journey started in 2008 when my late husband was diagnosed with ALS, and I ended up shifting everything in my life to accommodate his path with that. And it's a 2 to 5 year life expectancy. He lasted 5 years actually. And about 2 years in, when people become pretty much incapacitated, they can still do some things. Everyone's different. All their stories are different and their limitations are different. So anyway, but his hands and arms went first. So it required a lot of assistance by me. I ended up closing my company. I dumped 3 homes. I got public assistance. He got him disabled monies and moved to a small house and proceeded on the path to helping him die as well as one can. That was my whole point and journey. Actually tried to find a cure that would help him, and it took a couple of years for me to realize that, and it actually was Deepak Chopra. I was at a workshop and I was for about 2 years of the mindset that I'm going to find something to fix this. And because there's no treatment, so you're just kind of stuck with where you are and how you go through each day. And at one point, I went up to Deepak on a break and I said, listen, he doesn't want to die. I don't want him to die. Tell me what to do. Because I used to study quantum physics through him at his workshops. And he looked at me, and this was a very pivotal point in my life. And he said, Debbie, sometimes it's just in God's hands. And that took about 3 or 4 days for me to process. And then that's when this was about 2 years in, 2.5, I shifted into, okay, if that's a possibility, I'm going to keep searching for a cure, but I'm also going to take him on a journey of dying as well as one person can. I took him on about 25 bucket list trips. I was on a lot of those. I would always look into doctors and things, treatments going on as well, and seminars, anything. And then right before he died, the year before, my daughter was very tragically killed by a loose semi truck tire on the interstate, totally happenstance. And I was already in caregiver mode with my late husband. And ALS is not, by the way, a very easy disease to deal with all by yourself. Um, so then I was thrown into, I had a granddaughter, son-in-law, sons, family, taking care of everybody. And that's how my journey started with all of this. But I want to also say, and I have a book that I know you're going to show somewhere in the midst of this, uh, talk. But it's a funny thing because, you wonder in life. I used to hate the fact that I was a foster child. I think it just bothered me feeling like I was one because, you feel unloved. Your parents didn't want you. But I have to tell you, and then I got taken out at 5 years old, and I have been a caregiver since then my whole life. And that's, I don't need to go into all that. It's actually in my book. And the thing is I used to feel bad about all the stuff in my past that now where I am today, when I look back, I mean, it was getting me ready to go through a walk of life that, I mean, I always say I had the double whammy, losing my husband and my daughter back to back. And there's nothing worse than losing a child, for God's sakes. Everybody can relate to that. And well, most people can't relate. And they're very prompt to tell me about that too, which I understand. But quite honestly, Tara, that's if they only knew how it ripped a hole in my heart every time they say that. I'm like, I know I'm in the club nobody wants to be in. So that's how my journey started. And I just want to give a little acknowledgement because we have known each other for about 13 or 14 years.
Yes.
I met you at a workshop at your house, if I believe. And soon after you moved to LA, which I visited you there.
Yes.
And I know that you became your husband's caregiver as well with cancer. And your husband and my daughter were died the same in the same time frame. And I want to acknowledge that of you because I know you know this journey, maybe not at the level I unfortunately have had to buck up and do, but nonetheless, I know that that was hard for you, and this is an anniversary time. So I just want to acknowledge you for the great work you did with all of that.
Oh, thank you so much. I so appreciate that. And I from the first minute I met you, you just have this light that just burns so brightly, and you shine that light on all the rest of us.
Oh
And
my
I
goodness.
am so grateful for that. And I know Dave is grateful for that, and how you stepped up and did that, and were a caregiver for him doing that during those 5 hard and wonderful years at the same time.
That's so true. Very well put. I always say I can tell you as many good stories as bad or sad because
Right.
there are so many incredible good stories of people that just showed up to do incredible things. And, if you don't mind, I want to share one because it's really cute and it's a little not funny. It's funny to me now, but it's how incredible. A friend of mine from church, when Jennifer was killed, of course, people congregate at the house. My house was the house everyone came out of town and into. And my friend from church showed up and she had stopped at the grocery store and gotten some catering trays of food, which okay, that makes sense. But she got this huge pack of toilet paper. And when she came in the house and I gave her a hug and I said, Jeanette, what on earth is this? And she goes, Oh, Debbie, you're gonna have so many people here. Everybody needs more toilet paper. And isn't that like how incredible and ingenious was that of her? She thought of food and extra toilet paper. I mean, just things like that I remember and give me joy in my heart to think about. I mean, that was just being a great friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's very touching.
It is. It's very sweet of her to have gone that extra length.
Yeah. And her to even have that thought, right? Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I look back now and I think, how did she even come up with that? I mean, it's so awesome. There's so many stories. And in fact, I want to read to you. I subscribe to Maria Shriver's
Oh,
Sunday
I do too.
paper.
I do too.
And guess what I got this morning? And there's a recording and it's a little longer, but what was printed, I want to read here because it's one line that just is the embodiment of what I'm all about. So I loved it. And it says, rather than feeling helpless, find a way to be helpful. Even a small step can make a difference. Love, Maria. And I say that to say that um that has what brought me into what I do now today with support for caregivers is now I owned a mortgage company and I will say that I am good with programs and I'll give you that. And plus then all of my caregiving my whole life. Okay. But people have no idea the resources that are out there for them. I just went to a retreat 3 weeks ago in Dallas with, I have a friend that she kind of does what I do, only her daughter lived and mine is not alive. And so we're very bonded because of that. It's so her daughter had like 75 surgeries to survive. And then I lost my daughter. So, and we both do incredible. She helps mothers that are in the hospital, like she was for 7, 8 years with things, support. I help people that are in the mode of what I do. So we work together, and there was a retreat 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it was for 2.5 days. So eventually you get to know 10 women. And I have to say, so at dinner Saturday night, here I'm sitting and talking to the quietest one there. And we happened to sit by each other. And after, an hour or so, I was asking a couple of very eloquent questions. I never pry. But I was like, please tell me, like one of the things after we talked about a few things, I said, please tell me that you're getting supported for financially because you can't work. Now she has 6 kids and one of them is very severely. I mean, these all 10 of these women um, were chosen because, I mean, I'll tell you, one of the ladies, and see, I related to her right away. In fact, I went and saw her when I was leaving the other girl recently in Dallas because she was 21 years. Her daughter was born without a ventricle in her heart. And so, and she's like, 21 years, meaning she can't leave her side because her daughter could die. And she's very vocal about it. And see, that's what happens is our lives are so diminished and taken away from us. I mean, I worked my whole life to get to where I was with my mortgage company, 3 homes, and I was at the pinnacle at 45 years old, and everything goes out the window when a loved one that you choose to be there for, and it's a choice. I wouldn't have had it any other way. But I'm saying we get put on the back burner. And so this other gal, though, who wasn't speaking, so I sit by her and I'm like, please tell me you're getting financial support because you can't leave the house because of your child. And she was like, oh no, our county doesn't have anything like that. And I said, if you wouldn't mind, if you'd give me your name and number, and I need to know the county you live in. And I'm going to do some research when I got home. It took me 2 days. Now, see, here in Colorado, where we live, this is a community situation. And I get calls all the time from like people that were usually from the ALS Association, or I don't know how people hear about me, but they inevitably they can't find the program. And I got to tell you, because a lot of people, when you call the county here, it's the county, and I say that because you'll hear in a second, but they like when I first called in, I got the food stamp department because I called the county and that's who answered. Guess what? They said, oh no, if you make over $800 a month, there's nothing for you here. And I ended up calling back 2, 3 months later, and long story short, there's a program, and you just have to know who to talk to, how to talk. And when people are in a usually just diagnosed situation, they do not have the wherewithal, the patience. They don't have the energy to think about anything but their person that was just diagnosed somehow very critical usually, or in a really bad way. So, long story to all this, I get home from Dallas and it took me 2 days. And the people there are so wonderful. I love Texans because they're so sweet. And I got this really nice guy at the county after the fourth person. And he said, "Look, little lady, here's the thing. You're barking up the wrong tree." And I'm like, "What?" But see, this is what happens. This is why I do what I do. And he goes, she was right. Their county doesn't have a lot of resources. And I'm like, "No, this isn't like I'm asking. It's like I know people have it. So I just got to find out what rock is it under." He goes, "You know what?" He goes, "I know the department you need exactly." Like I'm somehow he got to thinking. And he said, "This is through the state here. And
Yeah.
let me give you who to call." Well, guess what? I called, got all the information. The people were so wonderful. That was another 2 or 3 person call, but I did end up getting through, called the gal, gave her all the info, and there we go. So that's just another example of it's not even so much like you can tell people about resources. Sometimes they're not so easy to uncover, and that is the truth. So I am here for that. Should anybody need me, that is a situation, but everything's pretty much on my website too, except that's a real tough one because like this, see in Texas, it's not a county thing, and I tell everybody all the time, there is a county program, you just got to look for it. But I can find it if they need me to, believe me. So,
Oh, I love that. I just want to back up a little and because I know um, my first question is who needs to be supported in a care capacity?
well, I got to tell you, since the LA fires, okay, so on my website, there is a healing yoga, it's free session at the very bottom with my friend Rick Sugarman. I go to support myself, I go to these yoga retreats. I can't even hardly do them. I just go because it's something positive, and I know how important that is. It's a respite retreat because I'm still not, as I'm sure you're not either. We will never recover from going through and losing people with everything we went through. Well, um, when the LA fires happened, I happened to pick up on some spots Rick was doing, some real quick little ones, because people were in the middle of disaster and lost everything in total tragedy. And I'm watching one of his little spots, like a 2 minute spot. And I called him up and I said, "Rick, I need this for my caregivers. You don't understand. These people don't get out of this. Like the girl in Dallas, 21 years, right?" And it's true. And it's sad. And it's like, he says, "Well, next time you're out in LA, why don't we tape one and I'll show you." Oh my God, it was life changing for me. I cannot tell you. And and I'm on there and I don't look very great because, I'm not 25 anymore. But I got to tell you, when I was done with him, what that did for me, and he was doing spots for the people going through the disasters with the LA fires. And then obviously when you're a wife, mother, what have you, I mean, just like the 10 mothers that I just was with for the weekend a couple weeks ago in Dallas, they all have severely disabled children. They are all day long dedicated to this one child because their special needs. And, when I say really disabled, there's some that aren't as much, but that's why Delana chose these gals. Delana, her foundation is called Reagan's Hope. If anybody needs help with anything in Texas in terms of help getting through if you're in a hospital situation as a parent, it's an incredible foundation, and her and I work together, and I just love her so much. And I just want to say right there, I talk in my book, I want to tell a little story if you don't mind. You know, I didn't think that I was going to be able to recover, Tara. I really didn't. I mean, I don't even know how to describe it, but especially having a 5-year-old granddaughter that kept saying to me, "Grandma, why did God take mommy?" Because that's what we told her, she went up with God to be in heaven. So that just rips your heart apart. Never mind, your daughter's gone, your husband's gone, you've been through all of this stuff, and then your granddaughter's saying this to you, and never mind my children, my other children. So I, on a fluke, started caregiving. A girlfriend of mine called and said, "Hey, Deb, you've been kind of recuperating for 2 years. And I have a lady that I take to lunch twice a week. Long story short, she became, I think I was with her 8 years. And then, of course, when you're good, one thing leads to another. And I had several other people as well that I cared for over the last, well, it was it was, I ended after COVID. That was just a lot. So I did it for about 10 years, I guess. And the incredible people that I met doing that. And what's funny is, I wasn't out looking for it. If my friend hadn't called me and said, I'm taking a full-time job, you want to take this lady to lunch twice a week, that's all you got to do. And that, of course, led into full-time with her over the years with dementia, and then all these other people that hear about you. And that is another, so there's stories in my book of the love. That's how I got back to finding myself again and being Debbie again. And between the caregiver support groups and the people that I served as their caregiver, and they used to tell me all the time, none of the other caregivers treat me like you do. And I used to say, that's really a shame because they all should. And probably because of my experience with it, and I guess the person that I am, these people were everything to me. They saved my life. That is how I became whole again. And it was 10 years. And I used to tell people, hey, if someone else is backing out because like Christmas Eve or whatever, just call me. I got nothing going on. And I would always go fill in when someone else in COVID, they would use the excuse because if you were what do you call it? Not introduced to someone that could be with COVID, you had to wait 2 weeks. Well, people have children and grandchildren. So I'd always fill in and say, I'll be there. Don't even worry. So those people and those stories, that's why I wrote that book, that is how I became whole again. And now I'm just here to share all of my resources that I have and the things that I do, like the respite retreats and are so mandatory, and I will tell you about that. I was forced, when I was new with the ALS Association, one of the wonderful friends that I have there now, I always say these people are like my family, and they truly are. They become your family. And I was approached one day and said, there's a therapist that works with the people with all the families, and she became a dear, 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 dear friend of mine for years. And um, one day she said to me, you're doing this all alone, and I know that Dave has family, and you really need to get away. And I looked at her and I said, are you crazy? Who's going to fill in for a couple of days? That can't happen. There's no one that has that time to do that. So, long story short, she mentioned it a couple times, and about 3 months in, she said, have you figured that out yet? I said, no. I said, what? I'm told you that's not going to happen. She goes, well, if it's not going to happen, then I probably am going to have to cut you off as a client. Well, I was mortified and hurt. And I mean, really mortified. And I couldn't believe she was doing that to me. But I have to tell you, she knew what she was doing because I have a girlfriend in Atlanta and I did get some family members to come and take shifts. And I was only gone 2 nights, but 3 days. And I will tell you, I lay down her couch and watched Lifetime movies the whole time I was there because she went to work. And I came home a different person. And so respite retreats are huge. And I was made to go on one, kicking and screaming. And I'm going to tell you what, it was those 2 days laying on that couch, just watching TV and getting a break was incredible. And see, had I not had to go through that like that, I would never have known that. Um, it is incredible, and that's one of the things I love doing. And that's why that Dallas weekend was recently so incredible. But so you to answer your question, there are so many people. I mean, there's tragedies every day. It doesn't matter what genre of tragedy you're in. Everyone needs supported. It could be a mother that even has been through maybe divorce. I mean, caregiving, she's got all these kids and she's on her own now, so on. Caregiver support groups saved my life. And by the way, I went to 8 caregiver support groups before I found one that was about me. Everyone I went to, all of them were, how can we help you help your sick person? They would have doctors there to speak. They would have people from different insurance modalities there. You can get this, you can get that. They would have some, at one place they called them toys. We want to go visit the toy closet. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. And guess what? It was a big room, which they called the closet. And it was like wheelchairs and reachers and things. And I'm like, I thought this was for me. So I went and became a facilitator, started my own, and I still to this day run into people out and about that I forget the story. And they're like, don't you remember I was in your support group? And it was like, oh my gosh, you totally forget, because it's been a while and there's been a lot of people. So
Yeah.
that's that's who caregiving is really for, is the support, the community, all of that is, there's so many different genres of it. It doesn't matter, but you don't want to ignore that, because being supported no matter what you're going through is so incredible. The relatability piece, I mean, just like you and I. So we have a connection because our stuff happened with our husbands. It ended up about the same time. Mine was already sick when yours got sick, and so on. And it's like, that's a bond that we share that you can't ever take away from our relationship together.
Absolutely. So, and you are really strong, I'm really strong, and we both have huge hearts. And I want to ask this next question. Is everyone up for the task?
Uh, no, they're not. In fact, I was counseling. There was an ALS family that I was referred to, and I went over to their house because you have to assess. A lot of things depend on a lot of things. So I go and assess everything, and I'm sitting at the wife in this case was the one that had ALS, and the husband and the wife and I were sitting there, and it took for me to be in their home at their dining room table for the husband to have the strength to tell the truth. He did not, I mean, these, once again, people in their, I don't know if they were in their late 40s ish, maybe early 50s, young people, and he was not up for it. They owned a business. He did not want to give that up. He didn't want to quit working like I did. I'm telling you, not everybody is up for it. And when I was talking about all the different factors, like if we could get them support because they owned a business, and did they want to sell their house because eventually it was going to get to the point where something was going to happen with, the properties and stuff like that. And he spoke up, and he said, and it shocked actually both of us, to be honest. I didn't know it was coming around the corner, and she did not either. But so much better to find out and know what you're dealing with, to get things in line, because that was early on. And I have to tell you, I always go to every year there's a big the ALS big benefit, and I walked in, and Suzanne is the head of ALS here in Colorado, Rocky Mountain. And she said, Debbie, so and so's looking for you. And it was the wife. And I was like, oh my God. And by then she was totally on a vent and everything. And I walked up, and I didn't even recognize her, but I saw the husband, and Oh my God. I went up to her and I thought this woman was going to come out of her chair, her meaning her wheelchair, if you will. And she grabbed me, hugged,
Mm.
and that's just what you do it for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
There's a lot that has to be figured out, and people just don't realize it. People used to say to me, how could you give up your three homes and your business? And it was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, what does it take to reorganize, dump the houses? I literally dumped them. I'm like, I own a mortgage company. I'll pay your closing costs, everything. I'll do everything for free. I just need to dump these. I went and got a really cute little ranch with no stairs house and carried on, and it all worked, and I always, and then I got the assistance from the county, and Dave of course got on disability, and I always say if you can't function on those two things you got a problem. It's because you don't want to. I mean, and some people don't, and that's okay too, because there's other resources if that's not your plight in life. And that's okay too. Everybody needs to do what's right for them.
Well, and I exactly know what you're talking about. You gave up your business and a very successful business at that, and your homes. And my husband, he wanted to move back to where he was from. His only daughter was pregnant with the first grandchild, and I didn't want to move, but it's like you do what you do. It's like, what, I'm going to tell my dying husband he can't do that? Are you kidding? What I
Exactly.
told myself was, I would hope if the tables were turned, he would have done the same for me. And we don't
Yes.
know that. And that's the choice I made. You're right. It is an absolute choice.
Yes. And like I said a minute ago, you know, I mean, I saw the miracle in that day with that gentleman being able to tell his truth.
Yeah.
And he wasn't up to being quitting everything and putting everything down in his life to be a full-time caregiver for his wife. And honestly, you know what? It's not easy to watch somebody when you know they're dying.
Yeah, I totally relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're okay with whatever you want to do, and it's totally okay.
Right, whatever your choice is.
That's
Like
right.
you've been sharing with us, there are resources, there is support that people can get. Sometimes it's a bumpy road to figure that out, and it is critical.
So critical to be able to be honest. And that's what it's about with the supporting people that can orchestrate that for you. I mean, my being there, and this is not patting myself on the back. What I'm saying is, it doesn't matter who it is, but somebody jumping in as an outside entity. The therapist I talked about, her name was Leanne, I should say. I don't see her anymore. I always called her my ALS therapist. And I mean, she was my lifeline. I went to her once or twice a week for years because she became my lifeline. And we all need that. In fact, that's my logo is a heart-shaped um, what you throw out a lifeline to people when they're drowning, and that's exactly what I made my logo as, because everybody needs a lifeline when they're going through it, no matter what the tragedy. If it's these poor people out in California who have lost everything, they can't even rebuild, the soil's ruined, their lives are gone, their homes are gone, yada yada. And it's like, you know that's why I did the healing yoga piece, because Rick was on during the LA fires telling everyone, okay, if you can just watch this and do 2 minutes, 2 minutes to calm the inner beingness of your body. If that's all you can do today is take 2 minutes and do that, that's a win.
Yeah.
And then I called him, and then of course the whole yoga piece of it. And I'm going to tell you, when I did that with him, I've tried yoga now so many times I can't tell you. I go to these retreats. I do it all the time. And guess what? I never felt what I felt when I went and we did the one that's on my site together. My whole body felt the relief and the calmness. And it was just the difference of knowing. And that's why I said, well, let's film it. I mean, I'm not 25 anymore, but for the good of people, I'm doing it. I don't care. And it's amazing. There are so many tools. You know, I used to go into the extra bedroom and, I couldn't meditate because, too much monkey mind. How am I going to meditate when, I got all this going on? But I could listen to a guided meditation and I would sit there with the Caregiver Bill of Rights, that's from AARP, and I would sit there with the music playing, shut the doors closed, I'd light a candle, and I'd just sit there and I don't know if there's 12 or 15 of them, they're just sentences. And I would be listening to this meditation that I couldn't even concentrate on. And there was a nice candle, and I would just read my rights as a caregiver over and over for like a half hour and just take that inside of myself. I mean, there are so many little things that we can all do. And that's what I share with people, when I'm working with people, just so you know, there are so many resources, really and truly, financial and inside of yourself. It's so important. And I got to tell you, talk about community. Not everybody's up for, you know, when people are going through rough stuff. I mean, this is really hard to say, but I have so many women that, because, I was marketing all the time. I had a mortgage company. I knew a lot of people. If I told you the people that I ran into that would say to me, I mean, I could be I don't care where I am, at something, at a birthday party that I try and go to just to get out or something. And people would always acknowledge me and stuff. And they would say, well, I can't imagine how you feel. And then right away they would say, but I don't want to either. And it would be like, oh my God in heaven. And, I get that because they can't be there really for you. They're too afraid. And that's why it's so important to have people that are in the community who understand what you're going through and are willing to help you. And don't let the comments, I mean, it's like you're a leper, to be honest. I don't know if you felt that at all, but people don't want to associate with you when you're going through, like, you just buried your husband and your daughter and you're doing all this and you look like heck. And so on and so forth, and you've given everything up and you're kind of worthless at this point. You look like absolute hell. I mean, I gained so much weight because food became my comfort thing. That's all I had. Was I'd make a great dish for something to do. And watch what you say. I used to be the person a long time ago, I remember, that said, comfort food, what's that? I didn't even know what it was. Well, watch what you say, because you might just find out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're kind of leading up to um, another thing I want to bring into the conversation about caregiver burnout.
Yep. And you have to be willing to acknowledge it. But I have to tell you, every once in a while, the universe is an incredible thing, the energy. And if you're open, I mean, on a fluke one day, I called into, because I had nothing to do. It was a holiday weekend, Memorial Day, the one at the beginning of the summer. Is that Memorial Day?
Yes.
Okay. So I had a pamphlet from Hospice Forever. And I wasn't even ready for hospice, or we weren't, I should say. I was thinking probably 6, 8 months, but I had nothing to do. So I called in inquiring, and don't you know, they're like, well, we can have someone come out and tell you about it today. And I was like, well, wait a minute. But I had nothing else to do. And this really nice lady, who, another one of my friends now, came out, and surely because of ALS is a very debilitating, obviously, diagnosis, um, we qualified. And so after that, it's amazing what can happen because of talk about burnout. So I had all these people that came in every week. And well, first of all, a big burnout thing is all of the doctors. Oh my God, girlfriend. I used to throw that wheelchair in the back of my Highlander. You don't even know. Once I'd get Dave in the car because I'd have to disassemble it and put it in, and oh my God. Anyway, the thing is like burnout is something that is a hard topic because as much as you know that you're, let's say, at the end of your rope, what are you going to do about it? There's nothing to do. You've got to take care of somebody, right? And I had then a dying husband and a granddaughter at the same time now. So I had two of them at once at the worst situation. And those hospice people, because we qualified, or I should say he qualified, oh my gosh, I had a harpist. They have so many things that people don't even realize. I would have a harpist come in and she'd play in the bedroom where Dave was. And here's the thing, I'd say, "Can I join in too?" Absolutely. There was a chaplain that came by. Turns out he knew someone in the family, and that was just a really nice conversation. I had a therapist that would come in twice a week that would take that load off of me. So he Dave ended up sharing with her the stuff he needed to say that was better for her as a professional than to hurt my heart any more than it was already hurt. And so, I just, what I want to say to burnout is there are so many tools and resources, but you've got to be able to look for them and ask about them. I mean, yeah, if you're working with somebody, they have that, but a lot of people, like these women in Dallas that I just was with, most of them are not working with anyone. Yes, they get the medical attention, but they're not getting the attention.
Right. That's what's missing from the picture.
And like this, so you most people, if you mention the word hospice, they think immediately it's about the sick person, right? I got as much those girls that would come in, they were my to this day. I probably have 15 hospice gals in my phone still that they're all my friends because most people can't understand what you're going through and they don't. And these support people become your people. So, and I say that to say, like, I think we had hospice for, oh my gosh, a year to a year and a half before Dave even went. And that was life-saving in terms of burnout. And I'll tell you another quick story. One day, Dave's hygienist, because I used to take him to still get his teeth clean, she called me up. And I didn't even know this woman because I'd drop him off and I could go to the grocery store or something. And she called me up and said, "Hey, is this so and so at the dentist office?" And I'm thinking, "Okay, what?" And she goes, I want to offer to help you." I'm like, "What?" And she said, "I want to come over, and I know you don't know me, but if you meet me and get to know me, we were about the same age." She said, she goes, "Debbie, I never cleaned his teeth once." I was mortified. Look, I know. I was like, "What?" She told me this after he died. She said, "I never cleaned his teeth once." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" First of all, I was a little mad. And second of all, she goes, "Because he needed to talk." And he felt so bad for what he did to my career, my life, not having a home anymore, all of that, that he just needed to talk to someone himself like that. So she calls me up and offers to help. And you know what? Long story short, she came over 2 or 3 nights a week. And one weekend I had to go out of town and she filled in for that. I mean, there, there is so much support, and it's so hard when you're in the thick of whether it's your child, your loved one, or you even do it for a living. I have met through my last 10, 12 years caregiving. I mean, all of us caregivers, we have that bond like you and I have. And, most people can't understand that. And it's an incredible bond and it means everything.
Well, and there are angels out there in human form that help us. And to be what I'm getting choked up too now. Um, what I'm getting from this conversation is ask for help
Yeah,
as the caregiver because there is help out there. And when someone offers it, take it
that's right.
because you need the help, even if it's something around the house or you just need a break, whatever it is. And not that you don't love the person you're taking care of, it's your life too. And
Yep.
if you're not healthy and complete or whole or in even in a moment, you can't help the person that you want to help.
It's so true. I used to go to guided meditations. They're out there. I
Yeah.
even went to drumming circles.
Mhm.
I went to anything and anything, everything, I guess, that could change the energy, even if it was for an hour that I could get away. And I think that's why I'm so good at helping other people, to be honest, is I was very proactive. I didn't know what else to do. And anything I heard of or saw or heard about, I would try and partake in because I didn't have um, friends or family that were there for me. I had to do it on my own. So the hospice people, they're all my good friends. The ALS people, all my good friends. I started my own community. I started my own support group, and I'm telling you, incredible, incredible. It's
And you learn,
everything.
yeah, and you learned through your journey, which makes you such a special expert in this arena.
Thank you.
And you have a book that shares your story and other stories and gives information as well as the foundation you've started. And I just want to yell from the rooftops to everybody who will listen, there's help. And again, be truthful with yourself because not everyone is up to the task. And I want to say for me, I didn't know I was up for the task. And what came through, wow, I astonished myself because you never know when it's coming, comes out of nowhere.
It's at this point was an honor for me to be able to share those kind of 3 years that I did with Dave. An absolute honor to be part of the everyday conversations, and because he's a very evolved person, and I mean I can't tell you, you know what that did for my life to be able to be that person that was allowed to walk that path with him.
It's a very special, heartfelt time. And like what you said, honor, and I would say a privilege.
Yes, well put.
Well, honey, I love you. We can talk for hours upon hours. And everybody who's watching and listening, I'm going to put all this information on Deb's website that has a lot of resources, and you can even reach out directly and as well as her book that's available for purchase on Amazon. All of these links and all of this information is below in the post. please, anyone who's going through something now, please ask for help because it is there. Whether it's you need a break, you need financial assistance, it is out there. And there are people like Deb who can help you find it.
Thank you, Tara. I appreciate your time and your heart and your energy. I really do.
I do. And it's vital. It's vital. Don't lose yourself because of this journey. It is your life too, and it doesn't diminish your giving to your loved one iota. It only makes it better and more special for them because then you can show up.
Absolutely.
I love you, Deb.
I
I'm
love
so
you too.
glad. I'm so glad that we got to do this.
I
And
am too. Thank you.
of course, and just like it was an honor and a privilege to have this
Aw.
conversation with you because it
Aw, that's
is
so sweet. Thank you.
absolutely. And I just want to, it's not always somebody who is in the last stages of their lives. There are numbers of people who need help. You have a child with special needs or a tragedy that's come into your life. These resources and assistance are there. I can't tell you enough.
Right, because when you're in the thick of it, you
Yeah.
really can't even think about it, to be honest with you. And, and it's amazing.
Ah, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you soon.
You bet.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Be sure to join us next time, where we continue to cultivate feminine power, explore potential, and provide information and tools to elevate your life. In the meantime, visit our website at thefemininewave.org or follow us on our YouTube channel at The Feminine Wave to watch other episodes, share what resonated from today's episode, and suggest future topics. Your feedback is imperative in helping reach more women seeking to reclaim their essence. Until then, catch the swell of the feminine wave and continue creating the life you deserve. This is Tara Becker signing off. Take care, and we'll see you on the airwaves.